Let's talk about the collapse. That was my note that I have written here. You said you trusted the same deal scoring system for 20 years and then you
Yes.
ignored it.
Yes.
Let's talk about that and give us a little bit more context on what you were doing at the time.
Yeah. So I'm an acquisition guy. I like acquisitions. I like cash flowing operational businesses. Number one, easy to finance. Number two, systems are already in place. Number three, the staff is there. You may not like the staff. You can change all these things once they're there, but there's customers walking indoors, there's people spending money, all that infrastructure is already there, and you don't have to start it from zero. What I found is the starting from zero requires a lot from me, and that is the difficulty. It may make you more in the long term doing it yourself, but scaling is much more difficult. So I was acquiring other entities within my ecosystem. And when I acquire a company, I have a way of scoring deals. The problem is, and if you have a stock portfolio, you can probably agree with this. The problem is, you don't ask yourself if you would buy the current company you own. You forget about that. You already own it. So you don't look at the financials of that company as if, would I buy this company today at this price? That's the thing I missed out on. I forgot that some of the things that I thought were static were actually dynamic. Like it was a retail business per se. And I thought the location of the business is a static thing. It's the address. That's not true, because what happens is neighborhoods turn, roads can change, a competitor can open across the street. All of a sudden your parking lot is not available. And unless you use your deal evaluation system, in my part of it was location was critical, but I didn't realize the location was a mover, something that moved. One of the other things that's critical to my deal evaluation system is operator. So at certain point, I was the local operator, and you scale the operator. And so I always looked at operator as the most important part. So if you hire and you train and you got I scale from 1 to 10. So you have got a 10 operator. He knows everything. He knows how to do it. Well, a 10 operator can turn into a 4 with a family crisis. And those are the things I was looking at. But I wasn't looking at the location changing. And that was a crack. And the cracks start to develop in the foundation. And me, the CEO, has my eyes on the horizon. Where's the next opportunity? You know, and I don't see the cracks developing in my foundation. As long as the next deal is bigger than the last one, no problem. The collapse happens because everything becomes cross-collateralized. And as things start to fall, the what's left can't hold up the rest. And that is what took me down.
In the 20-point analysis that you had, was the analysis flawed or did you just ignore something that you shouldn't have? Was it there that you should have not done the deal, or was the analysis flawed and you learned it too late?
Well, a little bit of both. Let me explain. So I have 3 points that I look at. I gave you two already: the location, the operator. The third one's the concept. Okay. I thought the concept was something that also didn't move up and down the scale, but it does. And it's a kind of a thing that you think, just take any business that you've ever seen. Kmart was a 10 concept when we were little kids. Now it's 0 concept. It's out of business. Okay, so during that life cycle, it went from a 10 to a 0. And so that's the thing that I missed. I didn't realize that the concept was a problem. And I didn't realize that that shopping centers and neighborhoods change over time. And I took my eye off of those kind of things. And so what really showed up in the difference was my customers used to be able to afford our product. And now the neighborhood we were in, our product has to rise in price and their incomes didn't rise accordingly. So all of a sudden, we're in the wrong neighborhood. We didn't move. The neighborhood moved. So that was the issue. And when you have a bunch of different places, it's hard to spot. If
So
I had
the
a better system of spotting it, I would have.
yeah, yeah, right. And so where do you rest the I'm not going to say blame, right? What lesson did you learn from that relative to I never thought about the neighborhoods changing? I live in Middle Tennessee now. I love it down here just south of Nashville. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, where I was for 50 years. And we just had an 80-year-old, just an absolute, this standard restaurant, bar, pub. It's been there for 80 years and it's out of business. Now it's out of business because of government malfeasance. The neighborhoods have ran into, just absolute decay. The homeless are everywhere. There's garbage in the streets. There's no policing. Nobody goes out anymore. The businesses around them are all shuttered. 40% of the downtown is empty. So there's nobody walking around anymore. And this restaurant that was there for 80 years is gone. And I look at those guys and go, I mean, there's nothing you could have done, right? I mean, you can't control the government. They, just became what it became. You certainly could picked up and moved earlier, I suppose, from that perspective, you look back on it. In your context, though, did you see any of that coming, or was it just you lost the discipline on your 20 points, or you weren't looking at it like you should have been, and you had, like you said, your head was gazing at the next big thing?
Yes. So it's all of that. So the guy who owned that bar, he should have sold before the thing that happened to the downtown, right? He would have gotten his money out. He would have been paid very well, probably. He had a good operating business, but he could see the iceberg approaching. And that's what the CEO is supposed to do. And that's where I talk about standing in the crow's nest looking for the iceberg or looking for the storm, and the captain's in the in the wheelhouse steering the ship, but he can't see the storm only from the crow's nest. So the CEO is looking out for those kind of things, but he's not looking for the crack in the bottom of the hull. And so he's also got to go check for those things. Is the hull cracking? Because he's out looking for the iceberg. And all this is metaphor. But the point is, the deal system I used to buy was a system that I should have used to evaluate my own companies when I should have sold. That I never thought about. I always thought, and I call this, you talked about mistake, right? I call it hubris. My mistake is hubris, thinking, even though I failed so many times in my life, thinking that, hey, I know what this is now. I got it. And it happened so fast. It happened so fast. We were the most profitable we've ever been end of 2021. And by 2023, it was over. It was over that quick. And looking back, the mistake that I made is I saw it in 2021, but I said, cycles come and go. I can ride through it. No, it didn't. It didn't. It kept bleeding.
I think I think there's a good lesson here for anybody listening that runs a business, in particular where I come from in Portland and other cities just like it, is that there is an idea. I think we all have it that the world just isn't going to change that much, or somebody's going to fix it, or it's not going to, depending on what your ideology is politically, right? That you can't see past it because as long as the right team is in place, it's going to be fine and it's ultimately going to get fixed. And I think that, like a frog in a pot of water, as they say, I think there's a lesson there for all of us to pay attention to what happened to you, because it's not one of these things you can necessarily put your finger on. I think that there is like I said, almost a veil over our eyes that this magical thing called the government is going to fix this thing that's destroying our business, in a way, to put it in blunt terms.
Yeah. So I talk about this as the main idea of the book. I call it the architecture. Now, if I can go into that just very briefly,
Please, please.
think about the architecture of your home. Okay. Let's say you got a 2-story home, your bedroom's on the second floor, and you need to go to the kitchen. There's only a couple ways to get to the kitchen, right? Theoretically, there's infinite. I mean, you could break through the ceiling, jump off the roof, land on the grass, break through the front door. I mean, there's like all those, but really what you're going to do is leave out your door, walk down the stairs, turn left, and there's the kitchen. So now the architecture is the house. Okay. Consider the government also the architecture, or your family could be the architecture, or your education that you learned in university, or it could be your religious organization, your church and things. They all have these architectures. And the way to the kitchen is called the menu. This is the way to the kitchen. Now, every other thing is open to you, but really there's only one choice. That's what the government is there for, is to give you that one choice. They don't give you this idea that you can do everything. You can do just a couple things, and it's only what's on the menu. And I'll give you one. I don't want to get political at all, but the guy let me say it this way. There's no way, no matter who's in power, that they can change this architecture. The only thing that changes the architecture is a very long time, and it's generational changes. Okay, the last generational change happened when you and I were young, somewhere around the 80s. And there's another one coming probably in the next 20 or 30 years, because you can already see it with the young people are pushing towards this change. But there's nobody from inside the system who can make the change. It always comes from outside. And I'll give you one of the best examples I can give you. We can only navigate what's inside the system. You and I, Jerry, have figured out how to navigate the system. That's what we've done. Donald Trump has talked about the reason he knows how to get so rich is because he knows how to navigate the system. He's even said it out there. He really can't change the system no matter how much he tries. He got Elon Musk, the guy who knows, and I'm not being political at all. I'm just talking about systems and strategies and concepts, right? He got the guy who's been able to navigate the architecture better than anyone in history to become the first trillionaire. And Elon said, I can change the architecture. I can get in there, do what I do in my companies, take these people out, move these people in, get everything to change. And after 90 days, guess what happened? You tell me. Did the architecture change? Do you see a big change of what Elon Musk, the best in the world at navigating the architecture? Even he got squashed. There's nothing you could do from that side. And again, this is not political at all. This has nothing to do with party. Some do better than others, but the change is not there. So don't try. Don't try to change the architecture. Understand it. That you can do. The only other thing you can do is change architectures. If you don't like the architecture of your family, you can change architectures. You don't like the architecture of your government, you can change architectures. But you can't change inside. I learned that the hard way working in corporate America. And I talk about it in the book. I sold 325% of my goal one year. And I ended up getting a $13,000 bonus for the year. And my goal got raised by 325%. So the next 3 years, I never got any bonus. So it's the architecture. And when you're faced with it, and when I faced my boss with it, his response to me, and I hope this language doesn't hurt anybody, is, sorry, Neil, shit flows downhill. My goal went up too. So this is how the system works. Don't try and beat the system. Try and navigate it. That's the best thing you can do. And there's so many ways to navigate it. So as you see the things around you changing in a negative way, your eyes need to be open to those kind of things. Maybe it's time to sell. And Jerry, you say you're in the gasoline business. At some point, if, I don't know, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, if they stay in the gasoline business, it's going to be a different business. We all see that coming, all of us. It just has to at some point either run out or it's going to change into something else. I don't know what it's going to change into. Right now, it looks like electric, but it is going to change. And Amazon changed everything about retail. So those are the kind of things that you have to see, basically iceberg side and cracks in the hull.